Never raced in this series. Not a good way to start your first race.
Yeah, but boy, I'll tell you what, he has looked impressive. He's going to start 13th. Let's check out our Goodyear track facts for Iowa. As you take a look at the statistics on the track, let's talk about pit road. It's the one thing we haven't talked about, Ricky Craven.
Yeah, that's right. So they're going to exit on a turn, but remember, when they come in to do their pit stop, some of these drivers, like Justin Allgaier, Sam Hornish, or our pole sitter, Elliott Sadler, they have to look for their pit stall as they turn. And then it's under the lights. Very complicated, very difficult. I didn't like pitting on those turns. Going to keep our eye on it.
Yeah, it's very similar to Martinsville where we had, and it is really hard. You're trying to go down, watch that speed limit, watch the lights on the tack, or else watch the tack itself, and find your pit spot. And it's really hard because you're not used to turning on pit road.
It's really hard when they say, hey, where are you going?
Yeah, right. You know, we've had that happen before, too.
Well, I know where we're going now. We're going into turns 3 and 4 with the lights out on the pace car, and let's reset it for you. It's Elliott Sadler. He has chosen the inside lane. Trevor Bayne alongside. Then in row 2, it's Sam Hornish Jr. and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Then Drew Herring, Justin Allgaier in row 3. Jason Leffler 7th. Kenny Wallace 8th. Michael McDowell and Brian Scott round out your top 10. They come down the front straightaway. The capacity crowd is on their feet. This race is crazy.
You see the enthusiasm of that crowd when they took off.
Yeah, you see the enthusiasm of these drivers as they whistle off of turn 2 here. Kenny Wallace settling in on the low side. Wow, Trevor Bayne on the high side here, I think, has the advantage on the exit of 4.
And it looks like he is going to lead on lap number 1 with the number 2 of Elliott Sadler right behind him. And here comes the 22 of Sam Hornish underneath him, looking for second.
Sam looked so good in practice yesterday. The first half of the practice, not so much. But he settled in. He was making wide arcs into the corner. You can't make those wide arcs into the corner without the car being under you.
Behind him, Sadler, and then the 6 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in 4th.
Looking real quick to go to 3rd.
Yeah, he's got the inside line, and all of a sudden our pole sitter's going in the wrong direction. And here comes Justin Allgaier to take a peek on that low side.
Marty, when you have a car that's fast, qualify on the pole, and it drifts back at the beginning of the race, you can't panic. You can't overreact. It'd be easy to slide this thing into the wall on corner exit.
You noticed on the onboard shot there with Justin Allgaier heading into the sun as you turn into turn number 4. That's going to be there for quite a while, and it'll be in the driver's eyes and a bit blinding for the next few laps.
So many times we do see a car in the front row drift back, though, you know, and sometimes that's the reason it was on the front row. It's because it had that speed for 1 lap.
Carl Edwards and Stephen Wallace side by side. That's the battle for 13th.
Let's keep in mind now, Carl's got only 2 laps. Those are qualifying laps, and he didn't seem or look real comfortable in qualifying. So I expect they're going to need an adjustment or 2 before he gets acclimated to the car and the track.
Left side of your screen, that is Michael McDowell going around the 2 of Elliott Sadler. That puts McDowell into 5th. And boy, I'll tell you what, the 20 of Drew Herring is coming underneath Elliott Sadler as well. The bleeding hasn't stopped yet in the 2 car.
It actually it really surprises me because he won the pole by quite a margin. And typically a car that's that fast, it'll run really good on the beginning of a green flag stretch and then start to fade. This is the reverse. I think that something strange here, maybe air pressure.
Okay, we can tell you Jeff Green in the 44 is taking it behind the wall. Tim Andrews is just turning behind the wall right now. So 2 cars have parked it.
Wow, did you see Elliott Sadler's hands turning back to the right? How loose he got in the middle of the corner?
Drew Herring gets around Elliott. So now move Herring into the 6th spot. Our pole sitter's back to 7th, and he's under attack from the 38 of Jason Leffler.
Yeah, this 2 car is ugly right now. And, you know, again, you just can't overreact and tear up the car. It needs a big adjustment. He's got to wait for a caution.
Yeah, one thing I really like, though, is we see Elliott on the inside of the car. He is fighting that thing. But we already see the guys running good 2 wide with plenty of room in between them. This track is really going to widen out a lot as more we run.
Kenny, that's a great point. You know, other racetracks, you have a car that is this uncomfortable, you get run into from behind. At least he has the option of moving up a groove or you know, the track gives you that option.
It's weird now. You see everybody sits so close to the wheels. We can see Elliott there and actually has his elbow almost on the wheel.
David Mayhew in the 33 trying to get underneath the 11 of Brian Scott. That is for 9th on the racetrack.
I asked the team about David Mayhew. They said, you know, bring me up to speed on this young man. They said Kevin Love's got a lot of confidence in him. And, you know, it's quite a compliment to get this opportunity.
Well, he's had 2 third-place runs this year in the Truck Series. As we get a look on the battle for the lead, as Sam Hornish Jr. taking a peek underneath the 16 at Trevor Bayne.
I think, Ricky, you said something earlier about this would be a good race for Sam Hornish to try to capitalize and maybe show what he's got tonight.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. You know, in the middle of the week, he had no idea that he'd be racing the 22 car. Last week's winner out in Iowa. Very, very good race car driver. Very talented.
Did you notice that rookie stripe looked like yours on the back of your jacket?
I know.
We haven't taken that off yet.
I haven't made it through the night yet.
But you will. You'll be fine.
I'll tell you what, Sam Hornish is doing fine. Got lap traffic in front. That's Jennifer Jo Cobb. She started 43rd right now. She's moved up to 36. Ricky Stenhouse there, the 3rd car in that group, as he is closing the gap as well.
That was pretty cool. Trevor Bayne didn't really compromise Sam Hornish. He moved up half a groove, gave him enough room to get around Jennifer Jo Cobb, and then they went back at it down here in turn 1 and 2.
Right now, Ricky is saying, okay, boys, make up your mind, which now they have. And I think after they made up their mind here that Sam was a little quicker and he's going to go to the front right now, I think we'll see Ricky close that gap.
All right, let's update you. While now Sam Hornish has taken over the lead. He's our 2nd leader, as we've had 2 lead changes. We now have Chase Miller, Carl Long, Brian Keselowski joining Tim Andrews and Jeff Green behind the wall. We're going to step aside for just a moment. There's your top 5 here at Iowa. We've knocked down 13 of the 250 laps on this 7/8 mile at Iowa Speedway. Welcome back to the U S Cellular 250. Make sure to go to NASCAR.com for all your latest NASCAR information. And you're looking at our race leader, Sam Hornish Jr., only the 5th race in the Nationwide Series Sam has led, and the most laps he's led in any race is 8. That was back at Charlotte in May of 2008. And guess what, guys? He'll equal that this time by.
Yeah, very happy for him. We talked about capitalizing on the opportunity. He's doing that. His car looked a little loose to me when he was underneath Trevor Bayne. Getting out front, he can choose his lane. He can make that wide arc I was referring to in practice. And as the fuel burns off, it'll tighten up. I think he's in great shape up front here.
2 more guys have taken it behind the wall. Johnny Chapman and Mr. Harmon in the 74.
I had made the comment there that I thought Ricky Stenhouse would come up and close that gap. But right before we went to commercial break there, we saw him skating around, so he might have to come in and make an adjustment too.
Let's go a little deeper in the field. You got Blake Cook right there in 25th with Timmy Hill in the 75 trying to get underneath him.
Marty, they've been doing this for a while. You know, we went to break and we were watching these guys battle side by side. Again, this is what the racetrack can give you, but you got to give some credit to Blake Cook. He's on the outside for several laps.
Derek Cope also in this battle, and all of a sudden the 31, Justin Allgaier, has got problems, and we have caution on the track.
One of the 4 going for the Dash for Cash 100,000.
You can tell the Dash for Cash cars because see the Nationwide in the window. It's got the white background and the blue spoilers on those 4 cars. He was running 8th at the time, and oh my,
he was the leading Dash for Cash car.
Yes, he was doing very well.
Guys, historically, this track has been very hard on right front tires. It loads the right front, builds a lot of pressure. We'll have to watch a replay, but wouldn't surprise me if the right front went down.
We just always turned, other than maybe, I don't know, 3-4 seconds on the back straightaway. You're always laying on that right front tire because you're always turned to the left.
All right, let's go on board. You can see there's damage on the right side.
Getting into turn 1, and the right front goes down just as it loads up in the middle of the corner. That's actually turn 3.
Got to slow down a lot, but not enough.
So, tough break, but at least it's happened early. If they can keep him from going a lap down, he's still in a chance if they can get it back out.
That's a great point, Marty. These cars are a lot more resilient than you'd think.
All right, a lot of guys are going to take advantage of this as the 16 and the 6 and the 18 and the 20, they've all come down pit road. So Allgaier's trying to get out, and let's send it down to Shannon Spake.
Well, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. on pit road right now, guys. He says he's barely hanging on. They're wearing that right rear out, so they are going to make some adjustments to try to tighten him up a little bit. Jim?
Carl Edwards radioed in and said, on a short run, we are very, very good. We're just a little bit snug, but we got something to work with. Rick.
And as we see the cars coming off pit road, here is the race off pit road. Trevor Bayne taking 2 tires, as did everybody, until you get down to Jason Leffler. Boy, Sadler's crew really helped him, picking up 4 spots. Stephen Wallace's crew picks up 6. Wimmer's crew, as he took 0 tires, just fuel, picks up 9. And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. lost 7. We'll check in and see if there was a problem on that pit stop when we come back. Sam Hornish Jr. and David Mayhew stayed out. They're on the front row. Hornish took the high side. We're back to green flag racing. It's Bayne, Sadler, McDowell, Wallace, and Scott. Whoa, and Bayne tries to go underneath, gets a little loose. Side by side with Mayhew.
Trevor Bayne kind of snuck down there getting into turn 1. Caught Mayhew off guard a little bit, and then both cars kind of stalled off of turn 2. They didn't have the RPM. A little bit of a bump from Mayhew off of turn 4.
Mayhew, the 29-year-old from Bakersfield, California. We told you he's had 2 third-place runs this year in the Truck Series for Kevin Harvick Incorporated. He also cut his teeth in late models. Actually started his career like most guys in go-karts. And right now, doing a nice job here, running right behind Trevor Bayne.
We talked about Elliott Sadler, who's on the high side here, needing an adjustment in that car. And it looks like that's just what the doctor ordered. He looks a little stronger. He's heading in the right direction now.
Yeah, but I tell you what, also, you know, we see Sam Harnish and Dave Mayhew here that didn't take the tires. Sam's got away, and David's holding his own.
So far, no harm for those 2 guys. As there you see the 38 Great Clips Chevy of Jason Leffler. He is now in 7th position.
Be interesting now to see if Trevor Bayne, with 2 new tires, can catch Sam Hornish.
Okay, remember a couple of races ago when the 66 and the 38 got together? Well, here we go. They're side by side, or at least running close to each other. We'll keep our eyes on that.
One thing we heard, you know, earlier during the pit stops was Carl saying that they really had something to work with. Well, I'm just thinking if Carl thinks he's got something to work with, he's pretty comfortable.
He's pretty comfortable.
Right now, Trevor Bayne doing a nice job of about a 1-second deficit to first place, but he's holding off the 33 of David Mayhew.
Marty's really struggling to keep that car on the bottom in turns 1 and 2, and you see him slide up here again in 3 and 4.
Shannon, you got more on the 16?
Yeah, guys, despite jumping to the lead very early, Trevor Bayne said over the radio, his crew said over the radio, that they knew that they were going to have to work on this race car during the race, and they have done that. They took 2 tires on that last stop. They also made a track bar adjustment because Trevor says the car is just way too tight, and guys, he is really struggling over those bumps as you see the 33 trying to make the move on the 16.
Yeah, and Mayhew got a little loose there on the right side of your screen. Here comes the 60 of Carl Edwards. You saw that Leffler's gotten around the 66. No harm, no foul there. And here comes Carl.
Marty, as we watch Trevor Bayne again on the left side of the screen, he is really struggling over the bumps. You watch the car. It's got more movement than the cars around him. When you hit the bump, and if it hits the splitter on the front, right here, you lose control of the front tires for a brief moment.
Well, you were mentioning Trevor's comments about the bump and everything. We picked this up on the radio.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get back to that when we can. So Trevor right now the lead is 1.6 seconds for Sam Hornish. So he has pulled away and checked out on these guys as Bayne and Mayhew are running 2nd and 3rd. There's Elliott Sadler right behind, and give you an idea of what that looks like gap-wise. There it is.
Guys, we're going to have to pay attention, not nearly as much as these guys on pit road, but this race obviously starts in the sunlight. It's going to end under the lights. A lot of speed. Track's going to cool down. They're going to carry more speed into the corner. As we watch Elliott Sadler here on the high side.
And he's under attack from Michael McDowell. And McDowell takes that low line, makes it over the bump, and you can see how it shifts the weight of the car, and he's able to seal the deal.
Yeah, we see Elliott didn't challenge him there. Elliott knew he was better off to let him go and not lose as much time, because a lot of this time at this point of the race, you're only racing the leader. You're just trying to stay as close to the leader as possible. If you have to give up a position, you're better off to do that.
So Sadler has dropped back to 5th. Rick, what are you hearing?
Boy, the name of the game for Elliott Sadler today is loose. Before they were able to come in on that last pit stop, he was saying he was loose off the turn. Shortly after that last pit stop, he came on the radio and said it's loose, loose, loose. He's going to have to fight that. A lot of teams have said that's one of the issues you have to deal with here. Sooner you have to reel it in. Right now, he knows his job is to stay with the front pack and battle that looseness.
They're going around Jennifer Jo Cobb there in the 13th. She's 5 laps down in 35th. She's hugging the low line. And as these guys continue to make their way towards the front, the guy that's in second place right there, Trevor Bayne, is now 2.4 seconds behind, and he's still got a mirror full of the 33 of David Mayhew.
I think the 16 car of Trevor Bayne looks more stable as the tire pressures build up, but you can still see the discomfort through that bump right there. Big bump. See how it sets the car up a groove? That's miserable, particularly when you're around another car.
Well, it wreaks havoc when the Indy cars were here, because I mean, they had like 4 crashes that cars basically going over that bump and just destabilized them so much they couldn't catch it before it went all the way around. Rick, what are you hearing on David Mayhew in that 33?
So far, the car's comfortable for him. He likes it. Remember at the very beginning of the race, I was talking about the fact because of that cooling hose not attached, he almost had to start from pit lane. And think about that. The last minute before your first start, you had that problem. But he ran the trucks here a few months ago, finished 3rd. He was on the pole. Afterwards, you got a call from Kevin Harvick saying, you know what, you did so well, I want to see you in this nationwide car. He's tested them before, but he's never raced it. This is his first shot, and so far, he looks pretty darn good.
Well, talking to him down in the garage area, he's got a real level head on his shoulders and realistic goals, and he's definitely determined to turn in a good performance tonight. He says, this is the best equipment I've ever been in my life. I want to show people what I can do. And Sam Hornish is showing what he can do right now. His lead is 2.7 seconds, and we've knocked down 42 of 250. We've got the yellow flag out here at Iowa Speedway as the 02 of Jamie Dick has tagged the wall, and there the 14 has now gotten into him because the 14 of Eric McClure had a tire going down. So 2 unrelated incidents end up colliding together.
That's pretty exciting there.
Well, let's go back. In fact, our spotters are telling us that before we picked it up, yeah, this is well after he's already tagged the wall. And the 14 had a tire on the right front that was going down, and they end up into each other.
Yeah, Jamie Dick is trying to get off the wall and get down to the apron, and you could almost see where a spotter right here is saying, hey, he's low, because he tries to turn back to the right, I think. I don't know.
Well,
and our leader, Sam Hornish, skipped a couple heartbeats when all that was happening right in front of him.
Yeah, remember, he and David Mayhew stayed out. They were 24 laps to the bad side. There's Eric McClure as he's made his way to pit road.
And he was smoking, Marty, before.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There were 2 unrelated incidents that had ended up colliding. I mean, he had already had the tire going down on the right front on the 14. And then all of a sudden, we saw the 02 sliding up into the wall with Jamie Dick behind the wheel, and it just went from bad to worse for both of them.
It did, and then they found each other here on the front stretch. Very unusual.
I would think here, coming around to complete lap 50, I would think that Sam has got a pit.
Well, pits are closed right now. It gives us a chance to check in with Rick DeBrule. What are you hearing on that 22, Rick?
Indeed, the plan is to pit. The crew's on the wall. Initial plan is to put 4 tires on, minor adjustments. According to Sam, he says it's been getting a little bit tighter in the middle, but he says overall it's not too bad. In fact, that's why they didn't pit the first time around. Talking with the crew chief, Todd Gordon, he said, you know, really why? There was no upside for them. They felt the car was doing good, especially when you're up front, that you're continuing to run in the same type of situation you've been. All he had to do was potentially come in and make a mistake and lose some positions on pit road. So for Sam Hornish, for Todd Gordon, they said that was an easy roll of the dice. They left him out. Now, however, they're planning to come in.
Well, and he actually dodges a bullet in this double car deal between the 14 and the 02. Keep an eye on the 22. There is Sam. And there's the 14 underneath, and then all of a sudden, what's going to happen in front of Sam? And Sam makes the right move and comes back down underneath.
Wow, that's really unusual. I just don't think the Jamie the 02 realized that the car was under him. He's trying to get to the apron. You know what's going to be interesting here, guys, is we're quite certain that Sam Hornish is going to pit. The $10 million question is how many of them behind will stay out?
Yeah,
because
they all pitted back on lap 24. We've completed 50 laps right now. And here's Sam's career laps led, the first 27 races we mentioned. And tonight he's already led 37 laps. Trevor Bayne led the other 13. So it's been a big night so far for the 3-time IndyCar champion and Indianapolis 500 winner. And here he comes down pit road, and here we're going to find out who else is going to follow. The 33 is definitely coming. Mayhew, he stayed out the first time around as well. And Trevor Bayne comes down, and so does Sadler. So this is not going to hurt these guys.
We got Carl Edwards staying out. We got Stephen Wallace staying out. Jason Leffler, Brian Scott. So there's a handful of them, along with Kenny Wallace.
Let's go to Shannon on the 16.
Well, Trevor Bayne really struggling getting through 1 and 2 on those bumps. They're going to try to fix them up with an adjustment. Also put 4 tires on that car, and they're just going to try to tighten them up overall. Rick?
Well, the story on David Mayhew is they're going to put 4 tires fuel. They're also going to make a track bar adjustment. Overall, they're very happy with the car. Obviously, it's been a run up front, but it can't be better. Now we're going to go and talk about the fact that Sam Hornish likes the car. They just don't make a minor few changes and send him back out. The issue now is going to be, how is the car going to do with traffic ahead of him? Up until now, he's had free air in front of him. Now that he goes back out, what's it going to be like?
Well, you can see the first 4 on the race off pit road took 0 tires. It helped Stenhouse pick up 4 spots. Sadler 2, Almirola and Sorensen 3 each. Hornish and Mayhew dropped 4, but they have got 4 fresh Goodyears. And we'll find out how it all shakes out when we come back. It's turned out to be a 3rd combo. Now 7 cars stayed out. McDowell, Edwards, Leffler, Stephen Wallace, Brian Scott, Kenny Wallace, and Josh Wise. Let's get an update on those first 3. Jim Noble, what do you have?
Well, guys, those first 3 all have handling issues, but decided to wait until later to fix them. Michael McDowell is bouncing the right front. They've assured him they will come in next time to fix that. Carl Edwards says he's a little snug in the center. He's free on exit. Mike Beam said no problem. We'll take care of it next time. And Jason Leffler, although the car was starting to come to an early, now he's very tight center, loose off. Of course, Jason Leffler, guys, one of our Dash for Cash drivers.
And speaking of the Dash for Cash drivers, there's the blue spoiler on the 38. Here's where they're running. Leffler looking pretty good right this moment. Reed Sorensen in 11th, Michael Annett 16th. Justin Allgaier, though, he is back 29th and a lap down, so he's got a lot of work cut out for him. But since we're focusing in on number 31 Brant Machine, Rick, what are you hearing?
Not good things, unfortunately. They're saying they may have to go into the garage to do the work that needs to be done to keep him in this race for the rest of the run. They've tried to do what they could do on pit road. They say they've looked at it. They can't get it done. As a result, they're going to have to go inside, work on it. So they're going to lose a serious amount of time. The question is how long.
Well, it looked like that right front. The camera was awful.
Yeah, I believe when you saw it rolling around turn there and the splitter all rolled over, that when he had the flat tire, it ground the sway bar arm off, and he's got it. Sway bar's basically not hooked up now, so they got to replace the sway bar arms.
And guys, I mean, he cannot afford this kind of. We talked about how he needed to have a big performance tonight. Now he's in the garage.
Yeah, you got to reverse course. You know, this thing can get away from you here in the month of August, and they've really created quite a deficit for themselves. I look at the points right now; they're 71 back, but dropping quickly.
All right, let's reset it for you. On the front row, it's Michael McDowell and Carl Edwards. As McDowell is your race leader. Then Leffler and Wallace in row number 2. Then in row number 3, there you see Kenny Wallace and Scott. Row 4, Stenhouse Jr. and Wise. And here we are, back to green flag racing. Little wiggle from Carl, and that allows the 18 to clear.
It looked like Carl Edwards got a little tight, like he lost the front end of the car.
Here comes Jason Leffler underneath the 66.
You see him running long. Oh, gets into the side of Stephen Wallace. And Marty, you reminded us about the little tension between the two a few weeks ago.
Yeah, we've had those moments. Kentucky,
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. There have been a few where these guys have run the fender.
There for a second, I thought Kenny Wallace was going to try to get up there and break it up between the two of them. You know, that doesn't usually help when you have the third car.
You don't want to get in the middle of something like that.
No.
Kenny running 5th right now in that 09, and he was your pick to win this race.
Yes, he was.
You can see Carl Edwards has closed the gap on Michael McDowell up front. Look at this traffic jam here.
Got 5, 6 cars all packed together, and they're going to try 3 wide down the backstretch. And there's Sam Hornish. And you've talked about it during the break. Sometimes he has a tendency to get a little impatient when he's in this situation.
When you have a car as good as what Sam Hornish has, you don't have to show that kind of urgency. You do need to take the spot if it's there, but you don't need to take unnecessary risk. A good car will find its way to the front. This car's got a good driver also.
Hornish has picked up 4 spots since the restart, and he has moved into the 8th position.
Got to make good decisions, you know. Again, you don't need to show the urgency. He's set up on the outside of Kenny Wallace here,
which shows he can basically drive this car wherever he wants it.
That's a good point, Marty. You know, and what I like about what I see from Sam here with this pass is he's not trying to make the pass in one set of corners. Sets up to his outside off of turn 3 and 4. Gains a half a car length through 1 and 2 and finishes the job down the backstretch.
Eric Almirola there in the 88 right side of your screen, along with the 33 of David Mayhew. And here comes Trevor Bayne as he's getting underneath Almirola. And boy, talk about guys that have had some good runs lately. Eric Almirola in that 88 has had some dandy finishes.
Yeah, it looks like he's got his hands full a little bit tonight when he was up in that top lane. Those guys were going by underneath him, though. He had a lot of wiggle there.
Eric's last 3, 5th, and 4th. And that 4th at Lucas Oil Raceway, his best this season.
You know, Eric hasn't gotten the attention that
there goes Sam Hornish again. Sorry to interrupt you there, Ricky, but he is going on the move towards the front. He's getting around the 11 right now, Brian Scott. That'll move him up to 6. Let's go back for the battle up front because it's tightened up. Carl Edwards is closed again on Michael McDowell.
Carl Edwards was a 1/10.5 or 2/10 faster than the field before the caution came out. You see him getting faster and faster as he runs along the inside. He's going to go over this bump, see how the car handles it. Moves up a little. He lost the front end when he hit that bump. Had to surrender, slide back in behind Michael McDowell.
Well, McDowell's now led over 50 laps in his 4 starts in this number 18 car this season. In his prior 72 starts, he only led 8.
Boy, that bump is really disruptive to these cars. They coil bind the front springs. They have a splitter that can hit the racetrack as he makes another run at it here, Kenny. But that is so uncomfortable being underneath another car and hitting a bump like that.
Oh yeah, besides messing up your car, you know, you don't want to turn the guy around and you're up underneath. But it plays havoc with them. The guys can get over that bump the best. They'll get the best run. They'll get their stuff handling better.
You had a glimpse there of the gap between the first 2 cars and back to 3rd to Stephen Wallace and Jason Leffler, and there you can see just how big that is. As there is Wallace ahead of Leffler, and then Ricky Stenhouse Jr. rounding out the top 5, and Stenhouse looking for that down low line, and boy, Leffler slams the door on him. Leffler right now the best running of the 4 Dash for Cash contenders, as he is in 4th position, and you got to drop all the way down to 13th to pick up Reed Sorensen.
What I don't really like, what I really struggle with here is Ricky's charging the corner, carrying a lot of speed into the corner. That'll take its toll on the right front tire. You got to make quick passes.
Stenhouse gets around the 38.
Get back in front and cool that front tire off.
And I can tell you, I'm looking down on pit road, guys. The 31 is coming back out on the track. So Justin Allgaier, and here we go for the battle for the lead. Carl Edwards, he said he had a pretty decent race car early. Well, he's showing it right now as he now gets around. And here comes the crossover as McDowell's going to try and take it right back.
Carl Edwards is having a really difficult time in the middle of the corner on both ends. It's very easy to overdrive this car. So, you know, he mentioned earlier he was tight. Tight really catches up with you in the middle of the corner when you need the car to rotate, transition.
So Carl has not officially led a lap yet at the stripe as McDowell was able to get back around him. But maybe this time it'll happen for him.
Marty, we got to give some attention to Michael McDowell here, though. You know, we're used to the 18 car being up front, but it's outstanding that he's matching laps here with Carl Edwards.
And of course, he's got one more ride in this car scheduled at least. That'll be in Montreal in a couple of weeks, and he is really good on the road courses. There's your top 5. We've knocked down 69. We're working lap 70 at 2:50 at the Iowa Speedway. On ESPN, the O'Reilly Auto Parts NHRA Northwest National Finals tomorrow evening 7 Eastern on ESPN2. The American Le Mans Series from Mid-Ohio Sports Car Challenge, it's tomorrow 10 Eastern on ESPN2. And our next stop next Saturday, the NASCAR Nationwide Series will be at the Glen at 1 Eastern on ESPN. Don't forget to play NASCAR and DirecTV's head-to-head knockout. Go to directtv.com/NASCAR. Fill out your brackets today for a chance to win $1 million. Your last chance to enter is tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern. And one of your choices is that man right there, Carl Edwards. He's paired up with Casey Mears. And let's drop a little farther back in the field as some of these guys, as Carl's lead now over Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is now 1.2 seconds as he has gotten around McDowell. He has dropped to third. You're looking at Stephen Wallace as he is running in the 5th position, followed by David Mayhew in the 33, Jason Leffler in the 38.
And David Mayhew has been very methodical. He's doing a great job, and he's not putting himself in tough positions or compromising positions. He's sizing up the guys in front of him and then taking advantage of them as he's going after Stephen Wallace here.
Yeah, he just went around Jason Leffler a couple laps ago, and he's been, like I say, very methodical, marching his way towards the front. And his car just seems to look to me like down in 1 and 2. Maybe rides that bump a little better. We saw him drag the left front on the apron a little bit there between 3 and 4, which would make you think it's a little bit tight.
Well, we're on board with Stephen Wallace. Let's get an update on his situation. Shannon?
Well, Marty, Stephen Wallace and the 66 team, they're just looking for a little bit of momentum. Of course, they had that big wreck last week at Lucas Oil Raceway. They said it was the perfect storm last Saturday night, and it was just a small example of pretty much how their entire season has been. Just one thing after another. Anything that can go wrong does go wrong. So this track right here, one of Stephen's favorites, they're just looking for a little bit of redemption. Jim?
Well, Shannon, got a couple of things going on my end of pit road. Jason Leffler has been falling through the field on this last green flag run. He says he is too tight. He is getting much tighter as we go. He started off this green flag run 3rd. He is now down to 7th.
And he is under attack from Trevor Bayne. As Bayne in that 3M number 16 is going to the high side. They both go over the bump. Leffler's still able to hold on. Checking on the battle for 3rd position because Sam Hornish Jr. has gotten around Michael McDowell, and Hornish has got himself a race car tonight.
Yeah, I want to say methodical for Sam also, but not so much. I mean, he's really charged his way back up to the top 3, and the car is really solid. It looks great, and he's taking care of it. Look at this group here, guys.
Got a log jam, as we already talked about a couple of the cars in there. And again, the 38 of Leffler with Trevor Bayne. Bayne in the 7th spot, Leffler in the 8th position.
That last shot, it showed a tremendous amount of rubber buildup right outside that groove. So even though they got where they can run 3 cars wide, you don't want to get out of that black at all right now because that rubber is laying, you can see it right there. It's laying up there on the track.
And if they lose grip, though, they'll have to search for some speed. This track's cooling down by the minute, Kenny. So you're going to see drivers moving around this racetrack, don't you think, here in the next 20 minutes?
Yeah, and as we go longer into a run, you tend to move around more. So with the track changing because of temperature and you get longer into a run, you're going to see a lot more of that.
Side by side, the lap traffic, the 89 of Morgan Shepherd is going to force the 16 of Trevor Bayne to check up, and he's going to cost him. Leffler blows by on the high side.
Regroup. Don't burn the tires off it and go back after Jason Leffler. Trevor did a really good job there. You see him get a run off of turn 4 and says, here I come. He's going to finish it.
So he picks that spot back up. Let's also update you. We told you Justin Allgaier's back on the track. He's 13 laps down, however, 32nd position.
A driver that we don't see in the group that's drifted back, and he's all the way back now. Well, gosh, he's back to 17th position is Elliott Sadler. And you remember Elliott won the pole, but tough.
Yeah, we're holding there and trying to show you when he comes into view, and there he is in the one main Chevrolet. And Rick, what's the story on our pole sitter?
Boy, the key word all day has just been loose. We talked about that early. He says the tire is really loose in, tight in the center, then loose on exit. He said the last adjustment they made at the pit stop didn't work that well. But it's important to understand how hard it is sometimes to communicate when you're out there. In fact, the team almost had a misunderstanding a few moments
Logan. I said you made a good corner. You smoked him through 1 and 2 last time.
In other words, his crew chief, Ernie Copeland, said, you smoked that guy on the corner. Sadler said, you mean I'm smoking? He actually had to say, no, relax. You're smoking the guy. You're doing good. Unfortunately, not as good as they'd like. They've got to work on this car throughout the course and hope that when it cools down, the car will start coming down.
Well, you know, he keeps staying loose, and they keep saying that's their main problem. Well, he's definitely showing us that he is smoking the right rear. You see, he comes over the hump there, and the car goes into a loose condition. He's got his hands full.
He's got his hands full, Kenny, and he's distracted. You can tell. You could tell by the comments he made back to Ernie Cope. You look at Scott Wimmer trying to work underneath of Elliott Sadler, and Elliott Sadler is preoccupied. You can tell the car is so uncomfortable, and there's nothing worse than being uncomfortable in a race car.
And that is for position. Wimmer is 18th, and he's trying to take the spot away from Elliott. And Sadler, you know, when he has been on his 2 prior poles in 2011, has not finished better than 5th. But right now, he is mired back in the middle of this field in 17th.
Well, and what will add to the frustration is he can go by and he can look up on that scoreboard and he can see his team car running in 5th position.
Look at this, the battle for the lead, and lap traffic's going to play a part. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. had a run but had to check up as the 01 of Mike Wallace and the 15 of Timmy Hill have got their own battle going on. They're running for 22nd and 23rd and trying to stay on the lead lap.
Well, that's not going to work out for him. But it didn't work out for Ricky either.
No, because now he's got to track down Carl one more time.
But as soon as he clears Hill, he's going to be in fine shape. He was a 10th to a 10th and a half faster than Carl Edwards. There's no question the 6 car has gotten it turned around.
Flat right front will tell you on Justin Allgaier's 31. He's back on pit road. There he is. This has turned into a disastrous night for this team.
Yeah, he got into the wall also there with the flat.
So Carl Edwards is out in front by 0.3 of a second here at the U S Cellular 250. Remember, it took Stenhouse Jr. quite a while to get around Carl when he won back here in May. They're doing it again.
The NASCAR Sprint.
All right, back here at Iowa Speedway, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has just taken the lead from Carl Edwards as the caution has come out, as we've had contact, the 01 of Mike Wallace. After having cowboys and aliens on the car for weeks, he picks up sponsorship from the Iowa 80 truck stop just down the road a piece, and unfortunately looked like he may have had that right front situation that we've seen before tonight. Let's go back and show you exactly what happened on the lead change, our 5th of the night.
Yeah, Ricky actually drove a car length deeper into turn 3, got to Carl's bumper and just finished him off on the front stretch getting into turn 1, showing a lot of muscle. We're going to watch from on board with Ricky here. I'm sorry, with Carl from the back. Positions himself, gets alongside Carl, kind of stalls Carl when you can get alongside, dumps some air on the car's spoiler, finishes the pass before they get to the bump.
3rd caution of the night. Stenhouse leads the parade down pit road as the action's going to pick up as we send it down to Jim.
All right, Carl Edwards is going to come in. He was good in the entry to the center, tight in the center, and he was good off. They're going to go around and take 4 tires. Ahead of him, Michael McDowell got very tight through the majority of that green flag run. He was very, very tight off turn 4 in particular. Shannon.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. went battling a little bit of a loose race car. They made a wedge adjustment and air pressure and took 4 tires. Rick?
And Sam Hornish Jr. brings the car in. They're taking 4 tires. So far, they've liked the way the car has worked. The secret now is to keep it doing exactly the same thing as they go back out.
And look at Mayhew's team as they have picked up 4 spots on the race off pit road. Edwards, Stenhouse, Hornish Jr., Bain, McDowell follow. As we'll check in and see exactly how many tires that 33 took, as we have clicked off 101 of the 250 laps here at the Iowa Speedway.
Boy, the car looks like it's really come to life. Is this just a matter of the track cooling down and coming to you, or did you make some good adjustments?
I think it's a little bit of both. I'm really good where the shade is up off of turn 4 there. But we've been tightening this thing up a little bit. It's been a little free in. Mike Kelly and the guys on pit roads have been doing a good job for us.
Now, you're making it exciting for us. Good luck. Thanks a lot.
10-4, not a problem.
All right, so let's update you. We had no lucky dog again because of the man who was involved was in the lucky dog spot. That was Mike Wallace. couple of wave rounds, Blake Cook and Derek Koch. We've got a total of 21 cars now on the lead lap. And from 31st on down is either off or out of this race. And there, as you see, David Mayhew took only 2 tires. Everybody else took 4. And he is your race leader. He's going to take the inside line alongside with Edwards. Then Stenhouse and Hornish, Bain, McDowell, Almirola, and Leffler.
And we put all the cars that are really in this race with a good shot of winning, we put them all back on the same fuel cycle now.
We're about to find out. Look at the beautiful crowd here. The lights come on at Iowa Speedway. Cars come up to speed. Green flag in the air. We're racing again in Iowa.
Really good start for Mayhew. You're going to see the value of 4 tires versus 2 as they whistle down into turn 1. Carl was able to hang on his right rear, which prevented Mayhew from drifting up.
Ricky Stenhouse. Whoa, Mayhew wiggles.
Yeah, turns into the corner there, Marty, and gets a little loose on corner entry.
And here comes Ricky Stenhouse trying to pounce on him and take advantage.
It is a great save. Really, really good job by David Mayhew. Driving like a veteran.
He is really impressed, and especially when you realize he's teammate to Elliott Sadler, and Sadler stuck back in 14th.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That adds insult to injury for Elliott Sadler and the 2 team.
Right behind that duo, and now you see Stenhouse has gotten around him, and now they fall into single file line as they come across the stripe. It's Edwards, Stenhouse, Mayhew, then Bain and Hornish. That's your top 5. And look at Bain going to take the high side.
Yeah, he's searching out there to see if he can make something work. And, you know, Sam's been so good tonight. We'll see if he can roll around top of him, but I don't know.
There's Michael McDowell right behind him in the 18th.
You know, we've had some new names here tonight, have we? David Mayhew, Michael McDowell, all showing some strength. It's fun to watch.
You know, we were talking earlier when Stenhouse was right on Carl there, when there was talks about Carl not coming back to Roush, you know, there was maybe someone from inside, Trevor or Stenhouse getting promoted up. They both said they wanted Carl to be there. I think with Carl staying there and those 2 young guys there, there's a lot of future there.
I think you're right, Kenny.
Well, right now you can see Edwards and Stenhouse are trying to pull away from 3rd place. And here we go, side-by-side action. Could we make it 3 wide going down the backstretch? Trevor Bain. Here comes the 88 Eric Almirola as he's trying to get up into the mix. And, oh, is this going to get tight?
Typically, the driver in the middle will yield. It's just an uncomfortable position to put yourself in. Michael McDowell did that. Lives to run another lap.
Leffler's in this mix. So is Josh Wise. You've got 5 cars all fighting for the same space.
Yeah, you just mentioned Leffler. He slid the back of the car and turned sideways, getting into the corner there. There's a big save by Leffler.
Let's get an update on that 88. How about it, Jim Noble?
Well, the word from Eric Almirola, I'm loose everywhere. They tried to take a pretty big swing at the last stop. 4 tires, full load of Sunoco fuel, and wedge and air pressure adjustment. But right now, Eric Almirola still way, way too loose.
You know, loose is a common theme here at this track, and we haven't been coming here for very long, but that's what I've heard from the drivers every year. And Carl Edwards said that that's ultimately what lost him the race in the spring. So I thought maybe he mentioned being tight earlier. That would play into his hand, but...
well, and you would think the guys might have a better grip on it because we're using the very same tire combination that we used in the spring race.
That's a good point, Marty. And, you know, the difference is that was a day race, and this is more or less a night race, or it will be before we're done.
You can see the sun still in the eyes as they head into turn number 4, coming out of 3, and you're on board with Eric Almirola as he has got a mirror full of Michael McDowell.
The faster the track is, the more that loose bothers the driver, because you just figure that you're going to hit harder.
Well, we were talking about loose. Let's go back and show you what happened to Michael McDowell. This is from the 88 of Eric Almirola. Whoa. Open the door. Thank you. I'll go through.
That's a big slide. And, you know, you got to give Sam Hornish credit. I'm sorry, that's Trevor Bain to his outside. Trevor sort of sensed that. You know, and that's from your peripheral vision. That's not something that you can teach drivers. You have to sense that, and Trevor moved up to save both of them.
Jason Leffler taking a peek underneath the 18, trying to move ahead. So far, McDowell able to hold him off. Josh Wise in the 7. He's also in that mix. You can see they're all battling for that 7th spot. And there's Brian Scott.
Marty, there are no free lunches here tonight. We've seen cars clustered all night long, haven't we?
That's what we love about this track. This is the way it's been. Let's get an update. First time we've had a report from pit road on that 7. How about it, Shannon?
Yeah, it's turning out to be a really solid run for Josh Wise, who started this race 18th. And while most of the guys are battling loose conditions, the 7 is actually saying he is tight center off. We got some great racing right now, side by side, between the 38 and the 18 guys. And remember, Josh Wise, last time we raced here in May, he had brake problems early on, about 20 laps in, and he actually ended up finishing 29th. So really solid run for this 17.
So as those guys continue to battle it out, let's check in once again on the race lead, because Carl Edwards and Ricky Stenhouse are trying to make it their own little show, at least for this stint, as they pulled a 1.6-second margin over David Mayhew in 3rd. There is Carl. And right behind him is Ricky Stenhouse. So the pair of Fords in front of the Ricky Mayhew in his debut in the Nationwide Series. There's positions 6 through 10 at Iowa. Approaching halfway here at Iowa Speedway, you're looking at our race leader, Carl Edwards. He's led a total of now 50 laps, and he has led the most laps here. We've had 7 different leaders, 8 lead changes, but Carl has never won here, even though he's finished every time in Iowa in the top 10. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has won here back in the May race, his first Nationwide Series career win. He's had a good, strong car all night long. He's running a solid 2nd, and he has done pretty doggone good as we get ready to go up to speed with Nationwide Insurance. Let's check in on David Mayhew. How about it, Rick DeBrule?
Well, it's amazing how happy the team has been with this car almost the entire time. Really interesting, during that last restart, they were having a big discussion as to whether to start inside or outside. At first, David wanted to start outside. They ultimately talked about it, decided to start inside, but the team reminded him, don't forget, you got one of the best in the business starting beside you. Watch him, pay attention to what he does. Talking about Carl Edwards. Obviously didn't make it on the start, but hopefully he learned something. Let's move back a notch to car number 22, the one being driven by Sam Hornish. That last pit stop wasn't the best for them. Yeah, they got out quickly, but according to Sam, he says that the car is not as good after that last pit stop. The adjustments they made are kind of hurting it in the center. As a result, he's not moving up like he was. But one thing to point out with the team chief, crew chief, Todd Gordon, he says, you know, going from Brad Keselowski to Sam Hornish is like going from A+ to A. Good guy. Shannon?
Well, Trevor Bayne in the 16 car right now, he is reporting that he has developed a chatter/vibration in that car. Remember, early on when the race started, he jumped up front, led a handful of laps. He has since dropped back, battling a really loose race car. He's also really struggling over those bumps. He told me this is the first time he's raced this new car here at Iowa, and the bumps are really hard to handle with this new car. Jim?
Shannon, Eric Almirola coming off 3 very good weekends, 3 straight top 5s, but today, little bit different story. He's running in the top 10, but he's loose everywhere. They've been working on that 88 car, he and crew chief Tony Uri Sr. all day long. Next up, Jason Leffler in that 38 car. They made a huge swing in it last time out. Big changes, air pressure, track bar, 4 tires. They've been tight all night. And behind Jason Leffler, Michael McDowell having a pretty good run with the same car he raced back here in May. They raced a lot of laps. They took a spring rubber out of the left rear on the last pit stop, trying to free that tight race car up.
All right, Jim, thank you. As Josh Wise and Brian Scott round out the top 10, we have a total of 21 cars on the lead lap. And right now we have a total of 15 cars either off or behind the wall out of this race. So as these guys continue to circulate around, we've well past halfway. We've had a total of 7 leaders and 8 lead changes. But right now, it is the 60 of Carl Edwards out front, but we're getting word that the 16 of Trevor Bayne may be having an issue, so we're going to keep it right here. He's running 5th. Shannon, what have you got?
Well, I just mentioned in that up to speed, Marty, that he was developing a vibration. It's gotten really bad. The team told him it was his decision as to whether he wanted to come down. He said it's the right rear over the radio just now and told his team he is going to bring it down and they're going to make a 4-tire change. What a deal for Trevor Bayne. Of course, he had a strong run going last week at Lucas Oil Raceway. They blew the motor and now this. So they're going to bring it down and we will get an update to see if there's any issues with those tires when they come off the car.
And obviously on a 7/8 mile track, he is going to lose at least 1 lap, depending on how long this pit stop takes. There goes Carl Edwards flying by.
Yeah, vibration and a chatter typically mean that the tire is coming apart and starting to chunk, we call it, where it loses some of the rubber blister.
I was really hoping they were going to change 4 tires, you know, when he called right rear. But how many times does a bitch hit throughout your career when you know which tire is wrong, but turns out you're wrong, and it's one or something, you know, it's the left rear.
Well, they topped him off with Sunoco fuel. He's got 4 fresh Goodyears, and there goes Carl Edwards streaking on by. So Trevor Bayne right now finds himself back in at least 21st position. We'll update you when we return to Iowa Speedway. For Cash, his chances have gone by the boards. He's been behind the wall. He's now off track. He's listed in 31st position. Big day so far for Sam Hornish Jr. Most of the day, except for 1 round of pit stops, he has been running consistently in the top 5. Finds himself right now in 4th position, 5 seconds out of the race lead behind this man, Carl Edwards, who has now led a race high 67 laps. We've had 7 leaders and 8 lead changes here at Iowa. Now, the 16 of Trevor Bayne now finds himself 2 laps down and 21st position, and it's time for show and tell with Shannon Spade.
Well, actually, we're not able to show the tire right now, guys, but I did check in with the team. Sorry, I know. We love show and tell on the nationwide races, but I was able to check in with the team, and it was a loose wheel. It was a loose right rear, and they did change all 4 tires, and he has not complained since he got back on the racetrack.
We know you tried, Shannon, but they're so protective sometimes on these things.
I really admire Trevor Bayne. You know, that is a really difficult thing for a driver to do. Pit under green when you feel a vibration, but they never cure themselves. When they start to vibrate, they never get better.
At first, you don't even want to say anything, or you don't even want to think you notice it because you just think you're imagining it. But it gets to that point, you know that you got to come in.
Checking in on the battle for 6th, and it's also important for Jason Leffler, as he is right now the lead man in the dash for cash, as he is running 7th overall, but he is 4 positions ahead of Reed Sorensen, who is in 11th spot. Let's get an update on that Jason Leffler machine. How about it, Jim?
We've already just checked into the 38 pit. Jason Leffler reports he is hitting the splitter on the racetrack. His spotter also tells him he has a little bit of damage on the right side. Not know if that's caused by the splitter problem, but they are going to come in and pit next time possible. They are going to undo the air pressure changes they made on the last pit stop, try to go back on this 38 car just a bit.
Marty, this is an example of sort of the dynamic of starting during the day and then finishing at night. The track cools down, you go faster. As you go faster, you carry more speed into the corner. Naturally, the car compresses more. That car, the 38 car of Jason Leffler, was not bottoming out when the race started, but as they've gotten faster, it's a problem. So they got to make an adjustment, probably, you know, add some air pressure to the front tires, Kenny.
I would think so. You know, the 33 has been one of the cars that's been the most stable all day with the Carl Edwards, Stenhouse, Mayhew, and Harnish. But I think there's got some stuff going on with the 33 down there now.
Well, Mayhew right now, he's getting closed on by Hornish. As you can see, the 22 has narrowed the gap. And don't know exactly yet. Nothing from pit road as far as any major issues with the 33. But boy, Mayhew has given this car a nice ride in his maiden voyage.
He's doing an outstanding job, and we got to keep in mind he's got 2 tires compared to all these drivers around him have 4 tires. This is the point in the race where you got to make some big changes if you're starting to fade, like maybe a Sam Hornish, if you're going to have a chance to win this race. The track's changed that much.
Let's find out from Rick DeBrule if there is anything going on in that 33 camp.
Boy, so far the team has not talked about problems. A little while ago they came on the radio and they said just get in your rhythm. I mean, I know he was talking about the fact or wasn't quite where he wanted to be. They said just get in your rhythm, stay in it. That's the main thing. Because remember, this is his very first nationwide start. He's running in 3rd place. The thing he needs to do during the course of this race, yeah, of course you want to win. You want to be up front. But the main thing you need to do is keep your head about you. Yeah, go up front as far as you can, but don't do anything that's going to jeopardize what you've got. And right now what he has is 3rd place.
And we've got trouble for Sam Hornish. It looked like the car just headed for the wall, and he has got major issues. Right front tire again.
Same thing. This track is so abusive on the right front tire, and that tire failed in the middle of turn 3 and 4. Sam did an outstanding job keeping it off the wall. I'm sure we're going to get a replay in a minute.
Let's go back and take another look. No yellow condition yet.
So you're going back to the accelerator here, and the right front fails, and you're along for the ride. You can only turn the steering wheel so much. You have to decelerate, You're in the dirty part of the racetrack. That was a great job.
And the caution has now come out, our 4th of the day, and there is Sam making his way down pit road with a shredded right front. Tough break again for Hornish, as he had driven an excellent race.
He was lucky that it didn't get in the wall. He felt it just quick enough, and he had just enough room to keep it off the wall, because even though this will cripple his day, this won't ruin his day.
Rick?
Yeah, it's important to point out that's exactly what he came on the radio and said just a moment ago. They were asking him, did you hit the wall? Did you hit anything? He said no. As a result of that, they think it's just okay. They got to bring him in, get 4 tires, and let him go. Right now, though, he's got a long way to go to catch up.
And you couldn't see it from your position, Rick, but the right front brake rotor was on fire. Some of that leftover rubber that was shredded got on the hot rotor and caught on fire. Nothing major there. That'll blow itself out, unlike last week, which ended up being a fuel line from Justin Allgaier. So our 4th caution of the day, Hornish right now will go a lap down as a result of this. And here comes everybody as pit road is open here on lap number 154. Let's send it down to Jim Noble.
All right, crew chief Mike Beam has called for a 4-tire stop and a slight air pressure adjustment for Carl Edwards. Carl, a little tight center, a little free, especially into turn 3 on that last run. Look at a full-on Sunoco Racing Fuel as well. Ahead of him, Eric Almirola. The car really came to life on that last green flag run. 4 tires, slight chassis adjustment for Almirola. Shannon.
And Ricky Stenhouse's story for him is he really needs to drive off. Right now, they made a track bar adjustment. And another story, they said pack it full of fuel and start saving as soon as you get off pit road. Rick?
Well, the story on David Mayhew, amazingly enough, is no changes. They've been happy with the car all day. They came in, they gave 4 tires and no adjustments, sending them back out. Boy, that's a nice car when you're making all these stops with no changes.
Well, and everybody making a 4-tire change. And you heard Shannon talk about saving fuel. The reason, we think the fuel window, the outer edge, is about 90 without saving. We've got 96 laps to go, and we're under caution. Get ready. It could play a factor again. 50. Make sure to go to NASCAR.com for all your latest NASCAR information. And while we're under our 4th caution, Sam Hornish Jr. had to come back in because running at pace speed, we thought what rubber was on fire from the shredded. He had to come back in because it was getting worse and looking more and more like the situation we had last week with Justin Allgaier.
Yeah, and what you got here, I believe, guys, is that the brake duct caught on fire, and then the tire coming apart filled up the rotor. Then when he went back out, he introduced more air to it, which created like a torch. This is the end result.
When Carl Edwards was running beside him on yellow, he said there was some fluid coming out. He said something was leaking out. So, you know, obviously it wasn't brake fluid because he was able to stop in his pit box. So it might be something else.
Well, we told you Justin Allgaier's already got an issue, and he is out of the running. But now it is Jason Leffler. He's in 20th position, 1 lap down, back in pit road. Jim, what is going on?
Marty, as you can see, beating and banging underneath the right front of that 38 car for Jason Leffler. We told you about the splitter damage. From my vantage point, the splitter looks okay. The damage is further underneath that right front wheel, possibly with some of the tie rods. They are pulling that fender out as well. Now Leffler revs the engine, and he will pull away.
Well, you can't see it from your side on pit road, but he's obviously scraped the wall as well, and that created part of this issue.
Yeah, he scraped the wall because the right front tire went down. And if a driver has a car with a tight balance, meaning that the front won't turn, they're going to be in trouble. They're better off hitting pit road now and making a big adjustment, because you're going to have a right front tire problem if you're tight. The cars that are running best, Marty, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Carl Edwards, they're a little free. They need drive off. That's a good problem to have right now.
Well, here's the Fast 5 pit summaries, and David Mayhew, Stenhouse, Eric Almirola, Elliott Sadler's crew, and Josh Wise. We can tell you the 19 of Mike Bliss gets the lucky dog. He gets back on the lead lap. We now have 17 cars on the lead lap, but Jason Leffler is now a lap down, shown in 20th position, and it means that Reed Sorensen and Michael Annett, the 2 lone contenders, still on the lead lap. They're going to start side by side in 8th and 9th. There you see Edwards and Stenhouse up front, Mayhew and Josh Wise. And in row 2, row 3, you've got McDowell and Sadler. Then in row number 4, Kenny Wallace, there's Reed Sorensen.
This had to look like the last gas station for Elliott Sadler, because it's like, whoa, I'm on the lead lap. and I got one more swing at it. One more big swing. I can make an adjustment.
All right, so now David Mayhew finds himself in 3rd position. Let's check in once again with Rick DeBrule.
Well, what's going to be interesting about this next start is the status of his tires. Now, let's listen in on something that happened on the radio just a moment ago.
Sir, all the cars we were racing around had 4 tires. Way to hang on, though. You had the 90 laps on the left, and I mean, they really look good. Good wear, even all the way across there.
So think about that. He was able to stay with the leaders even though he had only changed 2 tires 90 laps before, which meant he really only had the same status of tires on 2 of them. What's it going to be like?
Well, and
this
here's
green flag flies, and he's got all 4.
Sorry, Rick, but we're going to find out one other thing. When we come back to green flag racing, we will have 90 laps to go, which is exactly where we talked about this pit window being. With these laps under caution, you think everybody can just go ahead and hit the hammer, or are we going to see some more fuel savings?
Marty, I think the guys that have a loose car or a free balance can hit the hammer, but if you have a car that's tight and you're abusing that right front, you won't be hitting the hammer long, or you'll be hitting the wall.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, you have to be loose right now. We're just seeing its track is so hard on right front tires because you're turning left all the time.
This capacity crowd on their feet at Iowa Speedway. Pace car has pulled off. Up front, it's Edwards and Stenhouse. They've been up there all night long. We're back to green, and boy, Carl just ignited off the line.
Yeah, I think Ricky Stenhouse spun the tires coming to the green. On the outside of David Mayhew.
Not only the dash for cash, this is the dash for the race win. Now, as everybody thinks they may be able to go the distance.
Ricky clears him off of turn 4.
Take a look at the number 2, Elliott Sadler. All of a sudden, the 2 cars come back to life. Remember when he was stuck in that last cycle? He was 15th, couldn't go forward, didn't fall backwards. And here he is after a great pit stop, London in the top 5.
This is a monumental comeback.
On board with Reed Sorensen. Right now, Sorensen is in position to win the $100,000 in the dash for cash. And remember, he won back at Daytona.
It's a little distracting, you know, thinking about 100 grand as you're making a pass.
I don't think he's thinking about that right now.
Well, you never know, huh, Kenny?
He might not have been listening to us.
Get on the radio and call him.
Yeah, tell him about it.
3 wide. Kenny Wallace underneath Josh Wise.
Oh, it's
Michael
a little tight.
McDowell thinks better of it. Look out. Kenny gets a little loose, and that opens the door for Drew Herring. You want to talk about a young man who's dedicated to the sport. Herring, his senior year of high school, was injured, shot accidentally in a hunting accident, and spent 9 days in the hospital, said it changed his entire perspective on life. He knows what this opportunity means. He knows what is at stake, and he has just wrapped his arms around it and is doing the job. I mean, we have been impressed by him, but I just found that out from him today. What a nice young man.
Yeah, that's inspiring. That's an amazing set of circumstances. You see Stephen Wallace making the pass on Uncle Kenny here.
And see, Unc.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, little contact when Stephen and Kenny went by, but it looked like it was on Kenny's part. He cut down all of a sudden.
How about Scott Wimmer? He's given the 70 car the best ride we've seen in quite a while for that team.
Yeah, we saw Scott Wimmer actually get the left side tires on the apron. These guys aren't afraid to get below the yellow line on the very middle of the corner, Kenny. They're using that to their advantage to get the car to turn.
And we see that a lot at the short tracks. Oh, we got the 18 on pit road now. What's going on, Marty?
Jim?
Top ranker Michael McDowell, he reported a vibration in the wheel on that last pit stop. Remember, this is the same car he led a bunch of laps with back in the May race. Michael McDowell's been having a great top 10 run. His crew chief Jason Ratcliffe cheerleading all the way. But this loose wheel, this vibration, this unscheduled pit stop gonna really hurt the 18.
And you saw on the left side of your screen, Wimmer got loose, ran up the track, so action all over this place. And here comes Stenhouse saying, Carl, do you remember when I passed you late in May and went on to win this race? I'd like to do it again.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, Carl's unable to stay to the bottom of the racetrack. I think Ricky Stenhouse is faster on the short run. Carl seems to even out on the long run, meaning 30, 40 laps. He just completes the pass here.
Well, the last time he did
Slides
it,
up a little bit.
and here comes that crossover by Carl. These guys, you'd think this was the last lap. Oh, and they touch.
Is it the last lap?
No. When they did it in May, it was with 18 to go. We've got 82 to go.
Wow,
look at
this, and they are using up these tires. And here comes David Mayhew saying, hey, you guys keep beating on it. I'll pass at least one of you.
David Mayhew has done this all night. Just gone about his business, capitalizes. Well, a little contact here.
I might have to move you just a little bit, David, if I can get back to you.
Ricky really charges the corner. He drives deeper in the corner than anybody in the field tonight.
You wonder why this track sells out? This is the reason, folks, that every time we come here, there is such great action. Let's go back and show you a replay of what was going on between the teammates.
Right. Makes the pass, but he carries a little too much speed getting into the corner. Carl's close enough to his rear bumper to get him loose, does the crossover, and then a little contact, runs out of room on the exit.
And let's go on board from Carl's point of view.
Wow. I mean, Ricky's down in there underneath him, just pulling up beside him, gets him a little bit loose right there. But slips up, Carl gets back by him.
While all this is going on, Trevor Bayne has just pulled on pit road. There he is. He's now listed as 1 lap down. Could be worse.
We're seeing a lot of loose wheels tonight.
Yeah, we're seeing some strange things, that's for sure. That took a long time, and it looked, well, a little confusion. Now they're going to go to the left side tires.
Let's go to Shannon. Shannon?
Well, moments ago, Trevor Bayne said that right rear was still really was not feeling good on the racetrack. He actually came down pit road that last pit stop, guys, and he had another loose wheel on the right side, so we'll definitely get down there and check to see if this could be the third one for the 16 tonight.
Well, and one other thing we just found out, he was posted by NASCAR because he pitted after the wave around. And so he had to come back in again. Anyway, and now they're going to post him again, we're just being told. So his night is going south as he is 3 laps down, and he's going to have to do another pass-through, according to what we've been told by NASCAR officials. So another rough night. Remember, the engine blew up on him late in the race in Indianapolis. And we're going to stay right here because we're hearing word that there may be some debris out on the track. Some of the teams are reporting it. As the race leader, Carl Edwards, lead over David Mayhew is almost a full second now, with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 1.5 seconds behind.
David Mayhew is faster than Carl Edwards, and the car looks more comfortable. Kenny, you made that point earlier in the race that David Mayhew in the 33 looked really good through the corners and through the bumps.
Really rode the bumps good, and that seems to be a key to this racetrack.
Well, right now it is Carl Edwards. He has led a race high 98 laps. We've knocked down 175, which means just 75 to go here at the Iowa Speedway. ESPN Sunday night at 8 Eastern, both together the Yankees and the Red Sox again. This time they're at Fenway, and then on Monday Night Baseball, the Sox head over to Minnesota to take on the Twins. That's at 7 Eastern. That game will be available on ESPN in the Minnesota area. It's baseball on ESPN Sunday and Monday night. Games are also available online at ESPN3.com. Back here at the Iowa Speedway, we have 68 laps to go. We're looking at the race leader. That's Carl Edwards. He's led 106 laps. His lead over David Mayhew is 1 second, and there is third place. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 1.5 seconds behind. Listen in on Ricky's radio after that side-by-side action with his teammate.
He's done when I get to him.
And that's all he said. So I have this feeling that maybe Ricky's not happy that Carl re-signed with Roush Fenway. Let's check in with Shannon. What do you got, Shannon?
Well, I think he was just really upset with how that last lap between the interaction between those two guys went. But his crew chief, Mike Kelly, came on, just told him to relax. And even Jack Roush got on the radio moments ago, guys, told Ricky, just be patient, and that's what he's going to do. Guys, there's a caution on the racetrack.
Yes, our 5th caution of the day has come out here at the Iowa Speedway. Waiting for the official reason why. Nobody has made contact with the wall. So we had some earlier reports of some debris out on the track.
Shannon mentioned that Jack Roush got on the radio. That's the equivalent of being called to the principal's office, you know, if you don't listen.
Well, there's a nice donut on the side of the 6 car, so there definitely was some contact.
There was some contact, but if Ricky's really upset, he should have not drove into 3 so hard and slid up and opened the door near as wide as he did.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys you can be mad at, but wait till the end of the race. You know, his crew chief came on, Mike Kelly, and handled it perfectly. Just relax.
Let's shift gears now, because now with this caution, Does that take the fuel mileage equation out of this race? Can everybody just stay out, go the distance if they want to?
They can stay out, Marty, but I expect they're going to hit pit road because there's too much uncertainty about these right front tires.
Good point. Lucky dog is going to be for Jason Leffler. He will get back on the lead lap. That'll make him 17th, the last car on the lead lap. And you're asking, what about that dash for cash? Well, Reed Sorensen right now is shown in 5th. Michael Annett is shown in 13th. And we already told you that Justin Allgaier is now 63 laps down. They've come back out onto the track. They're in 30th. You're on board with Michael Annett. He's got some work cut out for him, and so does everybody else. And you're right, they are going to come down pit road. And the first one in is Carl Edwards. Jim?
That's right. Carl Edwards has asked for 4 tires, 1 round down in the left rear wedge. He's a little free again on entry and exit. Just wants to roll that corner. He thinks he's got a winning car.
And Stenhouse, Ricky Stenhouse, still not happy with the handling of this car. They are going to put a rubber in the left rear, guys, so they know it's going to take a little bit longer. 4 tires and a track bar adjustment for the 6th.
Problems with Carl. They've got to back him up and put him back in the box. They did not get the tire. Looked like they didn't get it on.
It's interesting.
The left rear. Jim?
That's exactly what happened. Carl started to pull away. They stopped the car. The wrench was stuck on that wedge adjustment. They couldn't get it out. Then Carl goosed the engine just far enough to pull it over the line. The NASCAR official waved them back. So a big miscue on pit road here for the 60 team.
It's a big miscue, but I'm going to have to watch a replay because the key for the driver to leave is when the jack drops, right, Kenny? It's
Jack drops, she
when
goes.
the jack drops, the driver goes. That's the signal.
And remember, he had a speeding penalty last week at Indianapolis, so could it be another tough break for the 60? We'll reset it for you.
Crew chief Mike Beam comes on. Back it up. Stop. Back it up. We didn't get all the lug nuts on apparently. Watch the left rear tire changer. Goes back to the lugs. Hits 2. Now you can go.
And let's shift gears over to the 6 because we followed up on their radio conversation.
I know you're frustrated, man. I don't want to see anybody race you like that. But we're big picture racing here. We got to take care of our stuff.
But we're going to stand our ground, too.
So, I think the mentor-student relationship is going to take a little bit of a turn tonight.
It's an interesting set of circumstances. I know that Ricky looks up to Carl, but it's the heat of the moment. You got to get over.
Jason Leffler got back on the lead lap, as we mentioned. He's back at 17th. All right, here we go. Back to green flag racing. Michael Annett stayed out. He was our pole sitter, and he's going for the lead.
And, you know, last time he got to make a big swing at it. He's got to stay on the lead lap. They got it 90% there. If he was able to make that last adjustment they need right now, he's got himself in a heck of a position.
Remember the dash for cash. Annett in the 62, and here comes Reed Sorensen in the 32. Those 2 blue spoilers, and Sorensen is going to take the spot. Yes, it looks like he's got him. He does.
$100,000 pass.
That's it right there. Now he's got to hold on to it. Here comes Stenhouse. He wants to get around him. He wants back at a piece of Carl Edwards.
He does. Josh Wise drives under Ricky Stenhouse, makes it 3 wide.
Stephen Wallace coming into the mix as well. He's down on that low line with Drew Herring right behind him.
This has been some of the best racing of the year. Outstanding. 2 and 3 wide all night.
Look at the low line, the 60 of Carl Edwards. It took Edwards 22 laps to move from 17th to 10th at the start of the race. We still have 58 to go here.
And he's started going as soon as they threw that green flag because he needs all the time he can get.
Yeah, I think he's trying to capitalize on these cold tires, fresh tires, Kenny, because you know as the tire pressures build, you lose that edge, you lose that little bit of strength.
Carl restarted in the 16th spot. He's now moved in to the 10th position. So he's picked up 6 spots already.
Still got a lot of time, guys. 57 laps to go. If we have another caution between now and the end, it wouldn't surprise me that they hit pit road. So he's got plenty of time.
Okay, here's where this team car stuff comes in. Just like we've seen Carl and Stenhouse, now we see the KHI cars first and second.
This is an amazing recovery for Elliott Sadler.
It really is.
He was in jeopardy of losing a lap 50 laps ago. Now he's leading the race.
It is Sadler, Mayhew, and then Eric Almirola. 3 top 5s, and then a little bit further back you got Sorensen, Stenhouse, Wise, Wallace, Herring, Edwards, and Annett. So Annett has dropped like a rock from the restart. He's now running in the 10th spot. focus in on Reed Sorensen. Sorensen in that 5th position right now.
Reed Sorensen is the Matt Kenseth of Nationwide Racing. He's quiet. He goes about his business. He keeps you in the game. And at the end of the night, he's typically in the top 5.
And there's Josh Wise giving him all he wants right now in that 7 car.
And Carl coming.
Carl is coming. There he is right on the back bumper of the 66 of Stephen Wallace.
I'll be looking to the inside here, Stephen.
And Carl just gets around him that quick.
Now, what's going to be exciting, Carl passes a couple more cars.
Yep.
And then we're to the 6.
Well, like I said, the Sorensen would like a piece of that 60.
Yeah.
He's made no bones about
Well,
it.
he's going to get an opportunity.
I think so.
I gotta believe that Carl's going to be a little more, use a little more etiquette when he gets to him this time. As you see, Ricky is sizing up Eric Almirola.
These guys continue on this path, and there's Carl trying to close in on the 32 of Reed Sorensen.
And you can see the donut right in front of the 6 on the left side of Ricky Stenhouse's car. That's what he's referring to. That's what he's frustrated about. Carl got a little loose off the floor and got into the side of him.
Now, I know Carl and
That's
Ricky.
the donut, Kenny.
Right. I know Carl and Ricky are in traffic right now, but when we have Elliott Sadler out there leading, you know, he has been the fastest car for the last couple laps. So not just track position, they've getting things right now.
Give credit to Ernie Cope and the crew. 2 great pit stops got Sadler back into this position. Now he is doing his job. As you're right, he is either the fastest or 2nd fastest car, and the other car that's fast is the one right behind him, David Mayhew. So right now, Kevin Harvick's got to be sitting over in Pocono saying, hey, I like this picture.
Yeah, he wasn't saying that earlier.
Yeah, that's for sure. But it's Eric Almirola in 3rd. There's your top 5. We've got 50 to go. ESPN at noon Eastern. And then at 7 Eastern on ESPN2, NHRA Northwest Nationals, the finals, the O'Reilly Auto Parts, and that is on the deuce. Sunday at 10 Eastern, the American Le Mans Series, the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Challenge, and we'll finish it up next week with the Nationwide Series of Watkins Glen. Action Saturday on ESPN at 1 Eastern. Here at Iowa Speedway, we have 44 laps to go. There is Carl Edwards getting around Eric Almirola. That is for 5th position on the racetrack. Let's check in with Jim Noble for an update.
Well, Marty, certainly 2 cars going in opposite directions. Carl Edwards has been told by Mike Beam, you are the best thing out here right now. Just be patient, pick them off one by one. Eric Almirola, of course, made a 2-tire stop on that last stop, and he is loose and falling back.
Well, Carl, his team, I know, is trying to encourage him on, but he's not the fastest. The fastest 3 cars are the ones that are running 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Sadler, Mayhew, and Stenhouse, with Josh Wise now up to 4th. And boy, this would be Wise's best finish of the year if he can hang on to it. There he is in that number 7, and here comes Carl on the attack.
Yeah, Carl's good, but he's got a lot of time to make up right now. I mean, those guys are close to 4 seconds ahead of him right now.
Carl is a really bright guy, and he is, and I got to believe he's thinking about the right front tire. He ran really hard, Kenny, for the first 10 laps after that restart, and he's probably thinking to himself, I don't need to get it all right now. He's got plenty of time with 41 laps to go.
No, and he just signed a good 3-year deal, and he don't want to take any chance of getting hurt. You know? He don't want to race those 3 years.
He's picked up 11 spots since the restart 20 laps ago.
But he's
Over
not
the bump.
just marching through there.
Well, you get to this point where everybody's a little bit better now, and
Right.
so the quality of the competition is improved.
Right.
And that also is a factor. So he's got his work cut out for him, and you can see the gap from his view. I mean, he can't even see that race leader right now.
But you can also see him lose the front end as he gets within about a car length and a half. He loses the front end on this car right here, and that's you know, that's going to take its toll on the front tires. He's not going to take any chances there.
To give you an idea, Sadler, our race leader, is 1 full straightaway away from Carl Edwards. So Carl sort of mired right now. He made that move up to 5th, but he has not been able to do anything with Josh Wise.
I don't think we've seen our last caution, and I think that Carl's still got some gas in the tank here.
If we get a yellow. I don't see it happening without a yellow.
Yeah.
Not with 38 laps to go.
We'll find out. I'll tell you what, right now, There is the number 2 of our race leader, Elliott Sadler, and that's what it looks like as all of a sudden here comes Carl as he's got a fender underneath the 7, but there's lap traffic in front of him, and Josh is going to try and pin him down.
Track is really wide, especially on the backstretch. You could run 6 wide if everybody cooperates.
Well, the 52 of Tim Schendel did a nice job. He turned it down very low, gave them both plenty of room. Carl completes the pass and now moves him ahead of Josh Wise. He's into 4th, and guess who's next? Ricky Stenhouse.
It's going to give us a really good reference here as we look at Elliott Sadler leading, using up every inch of racetrack on the corner exit. It'll be interesting to look at Carl Edwards' lap times now that he's in clean air.
Well, we'll find out what's going to happen when we come back. There's your top 5 with 36 to go. And it's Elliott Sadler, 77 races since his last win. Does he turn it around tonight? Blake Cook's Dodge as he tagged not 1 wall, but 2.
Yep,
right front.
Goes down, and then when he hit, I think he lost the brakes, Marty. Big impact. Typically, you know, it can break the caliper off.
Hard hit there.
Yeah, that's just the first one.
That's the first one.
Yeah, this one is a harder hit.
Yeah, look at this.
This is a lot harder hit.
Oh, man, that hurts.
No safer barriers.
The safer barriers are all the way around the outside of the track.
Well, he's thankful he had it out there, and then he...
Yeah. But he's looking.
See, the rear brakes never locked up, and I think he probably broke the caliper on that first impact.
All right, leaders did not pit. They stayed out, but we'll keep our eye out. The 62 of Michael Annett did pit. Remember, he stayed out the last time, so he'll have some fresh tires. So we'll reset it for you, and Michael McDowell will get the lucky dog, and that'll put him back on the all stayed out. Elliott Sadler, his pit crew for that number 2, in the last 2 rounds of stops, picked him up 10 positions in pit road. Now, behind or alongside of him on the restart will be his teammate David Mayhew, who's done a stellar job in his debut. And look what's gonna be in row number 2. Let's take you back a few laps ago, as this was Ricky Stenhouse and Carl Edwards going after each other.
Ricky drives deep in the corner, makes the pass, but carries too much speed in the corner, allows the car to slide up. Carl's close enough to make him loose, does the crossover, comes off the corner, and just runs out of room.
Yeah.
He was really hard in the gas is why he ran out of room.
Yeah, I mean, Ricky smokes in there. Now, Ricky's loose now. I mean, he slid right up in front of Carl, so, you know, it's not like Carl made him loose. And then Ricky was still gathering it up when they got together. I mean, I didn't see where Carl really did a lot there.
All right, let's listen in on Ricky's radio.
Now remember here, you got the best car. Your lap times are better than anybody out there. I don't want you focused on anything but getting out lead and checking out.
Now, that's a team trying to keep a 23-year-old focused on the ball.
Yeah, well, I think if you're a member of Ricky Stenhouse's team, you love what he said. You know, he's frustrated. He didn't like what Carl did. I can't say that I blame him. He's got a donut in his door, but regain your composure, focus on the big picture like Mike Kelly told him, and I think he's in a great position here.
Let's check in with Jim Noble.
Remember a week ago in Indianapolis when Carl and Ricky got together, Carl walked over to Ricky when we were about to interview Ricky post-race, expecting some sort of apology from Stenhouse, and none was forthcoming. So when Carl pulled a similar move here tonight on Ricky, I was in the number 60 pit, and there were big smiles all around on the crew members of Carl Edwards.
I didn't know you could be mad now just because you get a donut. Boy, somebody get you turned around upside down before. That's what you had to do to get mad a long time ago.
Took a lot to get us mad,
didn't it? Yeah, it took a lot, but now he bumped me.
That's great stuff by Jim Noble. That's interesting that, you know, this goes back a few weeks. And
take a look at the 1-2 finishes this season with Roush Fenway Racing. And it was Iowa here where Ricky got the better of Carl. Carl got the better of Ricky at Michigan and Nashville in July. They're running 3rd and 4th right now. Lights are out on the pace car, so let's reset it for you. We've got a total of 18 cars on the lead lap. It's Elliott Sadler up front with his teammate from KHI, David Mayhew, just doing a marvelous job.
Yes, he is.
And then in row number 2, we've already talked about those two guys, so let's move on to row number 3. As Josh Wise and Eric Almirola line up side by side. Here is your man leading the dash for cash, Reed Sorensen, as he's alongside Stephen Wallace. Kenny Wallace and Brian Scott round out your top 10. And the lineup is not correct. NASCAR is going to hold it, and the lights are back on.
And, you know, this is an interesting set of restart. You got the front 3 rows are teammates. So the opportunity to make somebody in your camp mad exists. Now, we talked about Stenhouse and Edwards. We've read chapters 2 and 3. We're about to read chapter 4, I think.
All right, lights are out. Let's get a quick update from pit road. How about it, Rick DeBrule?
Let's start off by talking about the tire strategy for the front row. The last time Elliott Sadler came in, who's leading the race, he only took 2 tires. His teammate, David Mayhew, right beside him, took 4 tires. They have been on the radio constantly making it a point to remind David Mayhew that Reed only took 2, that their tires are going to be better. If he can take the lead, they think they can run away with this.
Keep in mind, David Mayhew has looked the best over the bump in turn 1 and 2. If Mayhew can get a good jump and clear Elliott off of turn 2, he's going to be in great shape.
We've heard the 6 radio. We've got something on the 60.
Carl, this is Jack. Are you doing okay? I'm good, Jack. I'm good.
There you have it.
Well, we're going to find out what happens. Pace cars pulled off. Fans here at Iowa Speedway. Look at them on their feet. Green flag in the air.
It's an outstanding start. Carl Edwards is really capitalizing. Sticks to the bumper of Elliott. Gets a little wiggly and turns a little loose in turn 1 and 2.
And look at Stenhouse shootout. He's going to try and make a run underneath on the 33. And oh, here we go. Side by side with the 60. Oh, Mayhew gets a little nudge from behind. Runs him up towards the wall.
That was quite the move for Ricky's part there.
That was a spontaneous move, and that's typical of a young driver. That was impressive.
The top 3 are trying to check out on the rest of the field. Down the backstretch, side by side. Stenhouse down low.
Stenhouse driving deep in the corner here.
Stenhouse and Carl can't even see that 2 car right now. They're just thinking about each other.
Yeah, that can lead you into trouble, can't it?
Oh, that can lead you into trouble.
Yeah, you got to get over this. I think that Carl knows if Ricky clears him, he's gone. Carl's driving really, really hard.
Well, and Stenhouse is now cleared, and now he's going down the back straightaway. And here comes a little more contact. And Sadler gets out of the way. He may lose a spot to Josh Wise.
This is an interesting battle.
You'd never know these guys were teammates.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear the comment by Carl Edwards. This obviously goes back to last week, and what we saw off turn 4 earlier in the race was a little bit of a payback, a little bit of, all right, whatever you give me, I'm going to give you back.
Well, they are back out in front, and Stenhouse is the man at point. They pulled about 3/10 of a second on 3rd place Elliott Sadler and Josh Wise.
Yeah, you got to think back to this race in the spring where Ricky Stenhouse won the race. Carl congratulated him, and then Carl said, you know, if he calms down and relaxes, he's going to win a bunch of races. But I think Carl felt like he used him up a little bit in the spring race.
Right now, Carl can't get back to him.
Now Ricky looks like he's getting away a little bit, or just enough faster that Carl can't get to him.
Well, the last 2 laps.
0.06 of a second, that lap.
Yeah, but the last 2 laps, it's been Stenhouse just that tick quicker. Let's check back a little farther. Now we go side by side. There's the 11 of Brian Scott, who's going around the 51. Now that's Jeremy Clements. That's a battle for 13th in that 51. He's got a good run going for that limited budget team. Michael McDowell got back on the lead lap. He's side by side with Wimmer. That's all for position. Jim, what are you hearing?
Hey, give Michael McDowell and Jason Ratcliffe points for perseverance. This went exactly to plan. They got the wave around a couple of stops ago. They put a set of scuffed tires on, and that's really helped the 18 come to life. Then they said, let's just ride around. Chances are we'll get the lucky dog, and then we can go. That's exactly what has happened.
Well, he's right now closing on Jeremy Clements. Clements doing all he can to hold on to that spot. The 26-year-old from Spartanburg, South Carolina. His best finish this year has been 14th. And guess where that was? Back here in May at Iowa. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to hold on to that spot, though, right now as he surrenders to the 18. So move McDowell into 13th, Clements in 14th.
Still a good run for Clements.
It is.
Right there. A real good run. That car out of South Carolina.
This battle continues as now Brian Scott pulls up on the back of the 51. We saw Wimmer when he had a good run. He was up inside the top 10. Then the car got loose on him, ran up the track. He's brought it back under control, doing a nice job. Not missing anything up front. We'll tell you that Stenhouse has opened up a 6/10 of a second lead.
We're seeing Carl Edwards empty the tank. We're seeing the best out of Carl Edwards. Kenny Wallace is having another good run, closing in on Reed Sorensen.
Yep, and let's talk about that Reed Sorensen in that 32. That blue spoiler, he is the front runner for the Dash for Cash. Rick, what are you hearing on the 32 cam?
Well, during that last yellow flag, he came on the radio and said, are our tires going to go the distance? The last time they pitted, all they took was fuel. Reed wasn't too sure, but the crew chief came on and said, we can do it. We know we can. Get out there and race, and that's exactly what's going on. Well, but there's got to be that little thing in the back of Reed Sorensen's head going, I think I can.
Well, Sorensen is running 6th. The other two that are in contention tonight, Annette is 11th, Leffler is 12th, and they are about 4 seconds behind him. So with only 13 laps to go, he's just got to keep all 4 tires underneath him.
Yeah, and Sorensen's done a great job. Leffler deserves some credit for rallying back from that green flag stop. You can see we're riding with Stephen Wallace here. He's closed in on the back of Uncle Kenny. He's going to battle here for 7th.
He's going to get right up on Uncle Kenny and try to make it exciting, and they're both chasing Reed, so there's potential for 2 more spots there.
We were talking about Michael Annette as he is now in the 11th spot, as he has got a battle with McDowell going, and there's McDowell in the 18. So
I think Michael's fast enough to catch the 4 cars in front of him, catch and pass them.
boy, and he pulls away, just pulls him going down that backstretch.
Well, we saw 2 cars up there, the yellow car, 2 cars up in front of Michael, David Mayhew, who's dropped back to 9th after that last restart. Had a little wiggle up off there, off 4 or off 2 or 4 on that initial first lap after the restart, and they were going by him everywhere.
A little wiggle, I think, was a product of Ricky Stenhouse driving 3 wide underneath him.
Yes.
I think caught him by surprise.
Yeah. It was welcome to the Nationwide Series.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, we're getting ready to pay, and we're going to go here right here at the last 30 laps.
Well, there is the man trying to track down Edwards and Stenhouse, the 2 of Elliott Sadler, followed by Wise and Almirola. That's your top 5. And there you see Drew Herring as he is running in the 10th spot.
All 3 of those cars, what a good run. Almirola, another top 5, if he can pull it off. The 7-car Weiss, career best, I believe. And what a rebound from Elliott.
Well, and it would be, remember this, it's the winner of the Dash for Cash plus the 3 best finishers tonight. And right now that would be Stenhouse, Sadler, and Josh Wise.
That's a chance for $100 grand in Richmond. So that's a great point, Marty. We had talked a lot about that.
All right, let's drop back to the battle for 10th. We got Drew Herring with McDowell and Mayhew right in front of them, as well as Mayhew's trying to hang on to that 9th spot. Let's get an update on the 20 car. Shannon?
Well, I spoke with Drew Herring before the race started. He qualified 5th. It was a career best. He was really excited about getting in this car. It's his last race with Joe Gibbs Racing. He's done the last 3. He told me, I just hope that I could finish as well as I qualified. And guys, I would say he's definitely done that tonight. A great run for this guy.
Well, he told me, he said, my #1 goal is don't tear up any sheet metal. We've been very successful in that. Second thing is, I know this is a car capable of a top 5. That's my ultimate goal. Other than that, if I can stay in the top 10, do what I need to do, it'll be okay.
Marty, here comes Carl Edwards.
Yeah, let's check back in on the race lead because it is starting to tighten up. Carl has the fastest car on the track right now as he has closed the gap down to a ½ second. It had been wider than that as they go down the backstretch, but the laps are running out. Next time by, 4 to go.
5 laps ago, Ricky Stenhouse had nearly 1 second lead. Carl cut it in half. Let's see if he can continue or if he stalls.
I think he's going to stall.
Carl is using up every bit of racetrack, Kenny. He's moving around. He's doing everything he can. You can see running a little higher line, getting in the corner.
He lost a little bit on that lap. It's 0.6 of a second with 4 to go.
Got some traffic up ahead.
It's a lot harder to be up here and watch than it is looking through the windshield.
Well, the 2 lap vehicles in front are Charles Lewandowski in the 40 and the 14 of Eric McClure. That's McClure that he's getting around right now. So Stenhouse is cleared. Here comes Carl. We're down to 3 laps to go. I don't think Carl has anything for it.
And Carl had to lift off turn 2. He didn't. He caught the 14 in the wrong place.
Just 2 laps remaining. There's Carl right behind. It's now 0.7 of a second. So in the last 2 laps, Stenhouse has actually lengthened the lead.
He might have got a phone call on the radio. Said, hey, we got to go just a little bit faster.
You got to give Ricky Stenhouse a lot of credit. You know, it's not easy to top Carl Edwards at a track, and he's going to do it for the 2nd time at Iowa.
Here we go. 7/8 of a mile to go for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He picked up his first career win here back in May. And all he has to do now is negotiate 2 more corners, and he's going to do it again at Iowa Speedway.
He dominated last week, Marty. Didn't get the win, but it looks as though he's got a little redemption in mind here tonight.
Oh, look out as he has a tire situation. Here comes Edwards right into it. They cross the line, and guess who wins the race? Unreal finish. Sadler comes across the line 3rd, Wise 4th, Almirola the 5th, and Reed Sorensen wins the $100 grand in the dash for cash. And Ricky wins for the 2nd time, courtesy of a shove from Carl Edwards.
If Carl could have avoided him, he would have won the race, but he had nowhere to go. He couldn't react quick enough. I've never seen anything like it.
I've never have either. Look at what's left in the front end of the Fastenal Ford.
Oh, my gosh.
Ricky had a tire going down, which tells you how hard he was driving.
It is official from NASCAR. The 6 car crosses the line first as we saw it. There he is saying, hey, it may not look pretty, but I'm the winner.
This has been an unbelievable race, has it not?
Let's look at this.
I want to be in the team meeting at Roush Fenway on Tuesday. That's all I know.
It's appropriate that it finished this way.
All right, take another look at this.
Okay, all of a sudden, I don't think that's the engine. That's an engine.
That's the engine. You're
That's
right.
Wow.
And I wonder if Carl got into the fluid and couldn't steer.
I would think so, because you'd think he could have missed it, but it's hard to say from up here.
You're right, though, and look at the tire from there.
He did a good job of just keeping. He had smoke and oil, I guarantee you. He just couldn't miss him.
All right, let's just listen this time from Carl's perspective.
You could hear the rear tire spinning.
And you couldn't see anything, and neither could Carl.
No, and he couldn't steer.
All right, let's show you this finish. The margin of victory is 66/1000th of a second.
Well, he wasn't beside him, he was under him.
Again, it's appropriate that they came together at the finish because, you know, this has been grueling, right?
So, yeah, that's Carl talking to Mike Kelly and explaining his end of it.
Let him know because he thinks you're people. That's important.
Well, you heard it.
Good job.
There's Jack also.
Thanks for the push.
Thanks for the push.
Well, he was blocking a little bit, and then I couldn't get out of the oil.
I was hoping at least hit the bottom of your head off.
How many times did he blow an engine and then the race?
Not too often. That's the first time in 30 years that I've been doing this that I've seen that happen. Well, in drag racing, it can happen.
Very good.
I'll tell you what, it's 5th 1-2 finish this year, but by far this is the most bizarre and most interesting that we've had, and we're going to take you along one more time.
How great is a pizzone?
His reaction in the flag stand as Carl jacks him up. Fans, don't forget to play DirecTV NASCAR head-to-head. It's knockout. It's go to DirecTV.
This might be one of the more interesting post-race interviews I've done with Carl Edwards. Let's start with the finish. I think you were about to tell your crew, sorry guys, I was too tight, and then Ricky just blows in front of you.
Yes, and I thought, no big deal, I'll drive around him. And then he started turning a little bit, and when I tried to turn more, the front tires just were sliding. And I hoped by the time I got to him that he would be out of the way. That was my only hope to win the race. But I don't think anyone's ever finished 1-2 with 2 torn-up race cars like that. So congrats to Jack. I got to thank Fastenal for being a part of this. It was a huge day for us. It's fun to come up here and race here in front of this crowd. And you know, a great finish for Ricky. Even with
at Iowa. Okay, first question. Last lap. What happened to the car?
Motor was kind of messing up on us there a little bit. We'll have to look at it at the shop. But awesome job to this team. You know, we couldn't do it without these guys working on this thing. We work hard as anybody out there working the shop, all the body shop guys, everybody at Roush Yates Engines. The good Lord above, he's helped us through a lot of this, and got to thank Nationwide Insurance for giving us this opportunity to come out here and put on a show for these awesome fans. Woo, that's cool. For all these fans out here, this is a way to win right here with all these fans.
Ricky, one of the stories of your race was Carl Edwards, the contact between your teammate. He just said moments ago he thinks maybe you were a little aggressive. Was it a case of hard racing or something else?
No, I was aggressive there at the end. You got to do what you got to do to win. I wasn't going to let another one slip by us. He kind of ran us up the racetrack there, turn 4 when I got by him. He crossed us over, ran us up the racetrack. So I wasn't about to back down.
What was it like managing those expectations inside the